Hi guys, my name is Rob Chevez and I'm the CEO of the CAZA Group of Keller Williams Realty. And today my job is to make you a smart home seller. That's the purposes of today's video, is to make you a smart home seller. So let's have some fun and let's walk through a couple different scenarios so that you can understand the psychology of selling a home and how human behavior can be used to your advantage. Okay, so first and foremost, you need to ask yourself a series of questions. What are my goals when it comes to selling this particular property or your home? What do I want to sell for? How quickly do I want to sell by? And what level of effort and what amount of money am I willing to invest in my home in order to accomplish that? So I'm going to walk you through a little diagram here to kind of give you an understanding of how it all works. And then I'm going to show you some of the different levers that you have to control that. Okay, so first and foremost, this is, on this side, sales price. Low sales price, high sales price. On this side here, we're going to look at level of dollars invested and the level of effort. So 1 being low dollars and low effort, 10 being high dollars and high effort. So if you want to maximize the sale of your property, right, this would be maximizing it here, you would have to have high dollars and high effort, potentially, in order to put into the property to get full market value. Let's say you didn't want to put any money into the property whatsoever, and you didn't want to put any effort into the property at all. That would be low dollars and low effort. So who would do that? Well, it could be somebody that just wants to sell in as-is condition. They inherited the property. Maybe the property needs a lot of work. They don't have the money to put into the property. They're not willing to find the money or borrow the money. They don't want to put in the effort required to fix it up. They just want convenience. They want the easy button. And those options exist. There are lots of people that will buy those properties in as-is condition, all cash, and make it a very, very easy transaction for the seller. It is a totally warranted option. And in fact, we have a guaranteed offer program, guaranteed 24-hour offer program for people that want that, right? But most people don't. Most people want a mix of maybe effort and the amount of money that they put in and the amount of money that they get out, right? They might fall somewhere in this area, or let's say in this area, right? This would be a full renovation, full gut job renovation for maximum dollars. This would be doing nothing. And in here is going to be polishing the penny, fixing some things that are broken, painting, carpet, redoing hardwood floors, because we live in the home one way, but we sell a house a different way. Staging, proper lighting. This is where somebody that has expertise in understanding how these levers work can guide you to extract more money. There's a scale. There's a slide here, right? So we'll go into more detail on that here in a little bit. But that's what you have to ask yourself. What am I willing to do, and how much am I willing to invest in order to get what I want, right? And then somebody needs to show you what those options look like. Now, here's what you need to understand, though. Everything sells. Everything sells. In fact, what's so interesting is that if you go and you pull the data, I pulled the data the other day in our area. In Reston, where we are in particular, there was 30% of homes didn't sell the first time they were listed. More than likely, some of those will get relisted and sell again. But if it doesn't sell, it's because they got one of these 3 things wrong. And this is very, very important, because everything sells at the right price in relation to its condition, its location, and the time of the year. Everything sells in relation to its condition, its location, and the time of the year. You just have to understand the equation in order to get that right mix. So I'll give you a case in point. During the foreclosure crisis, there was all these properties that were on the market. There was just this there was a ton of supply and there was less demand, right? Because everybody was fearful. But at the right price, all that supply started getting purchased. Now, most of those homes required a ton of work, right? They were short sales and pre-foreclosures and foreclosures, and they required a lot of work. And by the way that the REO agents were marketing them were horrible. It was like one picture, crooked, toilet seats up. I mean, they didn't care. They were just disposing of the assets. But at the right price in relation to its condition, the location, and the time of the year, those properties sold, and they sold quickly. In fact, it was really interesting to see how the banks got really smart about this and started reducing their prices in order to understand what the law of supply and demand and the condition, location, and time of the year equation was. And once they discovered what that was, then they were off to the races and they were pricing correctly. Because in order to extract the most amount of money from your asset, from your property, from your home, you have to make sure that you get the right price in relation to these three things, right? So let me give you an example of even specifically location. You hear all the time, location, location, location. That's the most important piece of real estate. Yes, and asterisks, what matters is not only where it is. So let's just say if your property is in Reston 20191, right? That's great location, great area. But you have to start looking at it even more granular than that. Where does it sit on the street in relation to other homes? So for instance, let's say there's one house that's here, right? Let's say this is a road and this is the cul-de-sac and the house is right here. Actually, let's just say it's at the end of the cul-de-sac right here. And this is a double yellow line. And there's another house identical to this home right here. Right here. It's in the same neighborhood. It's in the same subdivision, right? It's in the same subdivision, in the same neighborhood. But the one at the end of the cul-de-sac is going to sell for more than the one on the double yellow line. Factoring that all other things are the same. Kitchen is the same, bathrooms are the same, square footage is the same. So this one's going to sell for more. Pretty obvious, right? But people oftentimes overlook those factors when they are looking at the value of their property. They'll say something like, hey, well, the house down the street sold for X amount of money. And, I then may have to break it to them and say, yes, it did. And by the way, its location was superior because it backed to trees or it didn't have a power line in the backyard. Those factors matter. So location is important even beyond its given area, but specifically lot location and what it backs to and what its neighbors look like. Very, very important. So you got to factor that in when you're running market comparables. The other thing is the condition, right? Obviously, the better condition the property's in, if we go back to our graph over here, the better condition the property's in, the more that property is going to sell for. It's just a given. So you have to be able to look at kitchens and bathrooms and determine basements and whether the basements are finished or not finished to determine that particular price, your particular price, based on your goals. And then the time of the year also matters, right? So the time of the year, is it selling in the dead of winter or is it selling towards the spring market? Now, I will tell you, in all of this, supply and demand plays a huge part. So for instance, right now we're in the dead of winter, but because the supply of homes is so low, the demand is super high. So it feels like it's a spring market. So you have to look at supply and demand, and then you have to be able to factor in, okay, my location, my condition, and time of the year is going to place less of an equation. Make sense? Okay, great. Okay, here are the things that you control, the levers that you control in order to help with the mix of getting to your goals. Lever number one is time. You get to choose when you're going to list that property. Now again, remember I said You need to factor in supply and demand, but know that typically during the spring markets, we see a slight bump up in price. During the summer times, we see a little bit of a slowdown, and we see where agents have listed based on spring comps. And now because the demand is a little bit less during the summer, we see a contraction in pricing occur. We see a lot of expireds that occur because the agents don't understand the relationship between sales price and time of year. And then in the fall, we normally see an increase in demand, but the prices don't seem to adjust. They seem to remain flat for the summertime. It's almost like there's the velocity has increased, but prices have kind of stabilized for the year. And then the winter rolls around, we see a slight decrease. That's if the supply is normal, not like what we're in right now where the supply is super low. But these are the patterns that you need to be paying attention to, right? So normally, spring is the best time to sell. Then it's fall. Then it's summer. Then it's winter. Now, all bets are off because supply is low. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so that's one lever, time. The second lever is money, the amount of money that you're going to invest in the property. Are you going to invest a lot of money into the property if it needs renovation in order to extract the most amount of money from your property possible? Or are you going to invest little dollars, no dollars, right? That matters, and you're in control. Now, by the way, there's all these cool programs out there right now where we've got one of them, which is Renovate Now, Pay Later program, or Renovate Now, Pay Later program. We run one where we actually lend sellers the money and we get paid back at settlement, so it doesn't cost them any money up front. But there's other companies that do that as well. And just know that nowadays you have easier access to money if you do need to do those renovations. So something to keep in mind. The third lever is effort, right? How much effort are you willing to put into this? No effort is on this side over here, right? Low dollars, no effort, lower price. That's just a given. More effort, which means you may have to manage the person who's doing the construction or oversee the manager of the person doing the construction. It's going to require some more effort. You control that, right? Expertise, who you choose to do the renovation is on you. And also the agent that does the work and sells the property for you, you're in control, right? That's a lever that you pull. So make sure that you're hiring the right contractors to do the work and hiring the right agent that understands this entire mix to do the work so that you can win in the transaction. You're in control. And marketing, right? This is a piece that the agent is heavily in control of. So you have to make sure that they're doing all the right pictures and all the right video tours, lifestyle of that community and that home. Marketing is a huge factor. The agent is in control of that lever, but you're in control of who the expert is that you choose, right? So these are all the levers that you can pull in order to execute on your goals, on your plan. Now, this is critical. Human behavior has to be part of this equation. Factoring in human behavior on how we buy and how we sell is a critical component of selling your home for top dollar. And let me explain why, right? As humans, the way we're wired, we are definitely driven more by the fear of loss versus the pleasure of gain. So let me give you an example of what that means in our business. If you see a property that's priced at or slightly below the market, I don't know whether or not this has ever occurred to you, but if you see a property out there that's priced at or slightly below market value and you know it, you literally look at the price and you're like, oh my God, that is an amazing price. I need to go look at that house today because if I don't, there's a chance that somebody else might get that home. That's fear of loss, by the way. And any agent that you're working with needs to be implementing a fear of loss strategy so that you can create more demand. And when you have more demand, you're going to attract more people, More people means you're now in control. You've tilted all the leverage towards you, the seller, and taken it out of the hands of the buyer. So I've got another little diagram over here that shows the relationship of time and the amount of money that you sell for, money. So the longer a property sits on the market, the lower that price is. I'm sure you've seen it. You've seen a property sitting out there for maybe 30 days and then 60 days, then 90 days. And the first thing that comes to mind for you is like, what's wrong with the house? What's wrong with the house? Well, the truth is, there wasn't anything fundamentally wrong with the house. It just wasn't priced correctly based on its condition, its location, and the time of the year. They got the equation wrong, right? Because everything sells at the right price, but you need to understand that scale, right? You need to understand, okay, if it's in poor condition, the price has to be adjusted accordingly. And if it sits, next to a power line, the price has to get adjusted to that power line. If it sits, right, in the dead of winter, you got to make sure that you price it accordingly, because wintertime, normally things might be slower. Again, the caveat is supply and demand factors into all that. But here you see that the properties that sell for the most amount of money happen in the first 2 to 3 weeks, right, of the property being listed. Why? Because maximum demand is now working for you. And if a property's been sitting out there for a long time, now the demand swings towards the buyer, and the leverage swings towards the buyer, and the buyer has the leverage over you, and they make a lesser offer. So the idea is to use fear of loss to your favor and price it right in relation to its condition, its location, and the time of the year, so that you can create fear of loss and extract the most money possible for your home. So this takes somebody that understands all the different moving parts when it comes to correctly pricing and understanding not only pricing, but pricing in relation to the condition of your property. The number one thing that a seller is always asking me is, well, if I put in X amount of money, what is going to be my ROI? What's my return on investment on that money? Well, it depends. We have to look at, let's say, if you want to redo a kitchen, how much is it going to cost to get that kitchen redone? And then we've got to go look at the comps and determine kitchens like these, like the one that you want, the sales price is selling for this amount. And then you have to factor in square footage. You have to look at the lot location. You have to look at the overall condition. And then you got to factor in the time of the year. So it takes somebody that understands all the different moving pieces to give you that exact ROI. I will tell you this, though, that if you polish the penny, and what I mean by that is if you take a home and you do some basic things to it, such as cleaning, decluttering, painting, trimming, edging, mulching, fixing any outstanding things that are kind of broken, servicing HVAC units that make people feel like, okay, this home has been well taken care of. If you do those low dollar, like little renovations, the polishing of the penny, you're going to get a massive ROI. Why? Think of it like detailing your car, right? Have you ever gone to go buy a car from maybe a third party and the car is dirty and dingy? What are you going to naturally do when you come to negotiating on that particular car? You're going to offer a lower price. You just are. But if the car is detailed, right? If cosmetically it looks good, right? If it's been waxed and the inside has been armor-alled, I'm not even a car guy, but I know this, right? The inside's been armor-alled, if it has that clean car smell, right? If all the little dust has been, picked up throughout, and everything's been steam cleaned inside, you're going to extract more money, right, from that. Makes obvious sense. But so many people sell or try to sell their property without polishing the penny, and they're leaving thousands of dollars on the table by doing it. Now, sometimes it's because they want that convenience factor. They're far away. They don't want to fool with it. They don't have the resources. They don't have the people to help do the work. But if you pick the right person, the right company, and they have the right expertise, they will take care of all of this for you. They do all the heavy lifting. You don't have to worry about any of this. They will do it for you. That's if they have a track record of success, and they could show you that track record of success, and they understand how all of this works. So as always, it's been my pleasure to help bring this information to you. If you have any questions on how to be a smart home seller, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to help. Make it a great day. Take care.